Hey, what's up, guitar players of the world? The second lesson for the Strumming Doctor course came out today, and it's all about timing. So I wanted to do a live stream on YouTube and Facebook just to talk about timing and to give you some tips. Like if you're struggling with this, and don't worry about it. Like especially guitar players, every guitar player struggles with timing at some point and to some degree throughout their playing. But it is something that you can overcome if you put in the effort a little bit every day, for like on a week, off week, stuff like that. Um, so I just have some things I want to share with you that are in the lesson that came out today from the Strumming Doctor, but I figured I want to kind of emphasize them here in this live stream. And like, if anybody has any questions too, I'll address those as far as timing, because timing can be an elusive thing. And trust me, I've had my experiences where I just got my rear end handed to me timing wise. Three main ones come to mind, and they're all very public and very humiliating. So there are things you can do to make your timing better. And when I'm talking about timing, I'm not talking about having perfect timing like metronomic timing. I'm talking about having control of your time. That way, if you're playing to a click in the studio or just at home, developing your timing, then you can have control to play right to the metronome, right on the beat. But also, if you're playing in live with a band, the band isn't going to be in perfect time all the time. So you need to develop the ability to just get control over your timing and adjust to what's going on. I like to think about it as this little analogy. I like to think about playing with a metronome as shooting at a target that's not moving. It's always very consistent and it's always there, and it trains you to know, are you rushing, are you dragging, are you right on the money. And then I like to think about playing with a band in a live situation as shooting at a moving target. You have to adjust with the ebb and flow of what's happening with the rest of the people in the band. If the drummer's really great, he'll be pretty consistent. If he's not great, you might have to adjust to the drummer. But more often than not, the drummer has to adjust. Well, that's not true. The drummer's sitting there looking at the guitar player and going, "What's your problem?" Because guitar players notoriously kind of neglect timing, which is something that like I'm really trying to remedy in a very kind of step by step attainable way throughout the Strumming Doctor course, because it's digestible in very small chunks. We don't start with, you have to have perfect timing and you have to go through all these exercises. It starts with level one and it goes all the way to like level five by the end of that module. So I just have some practical tips for you today. And if you have any questions or tips that you want to throw in for yourself, uh, let me know, or just type them in the comments below for all the other people that might see this video. Let's see. The first tip I have is when you're working on your timing, and it's probably going to be with a metronome for most of you guys because we don't all have bands that we can play with, right? When you're working on your timing and just starting to get control over it in a very simple way, and you have a metronome on, let's see, something like this. I hope you guys can hear that. Don't just sit there and try to stay on beat and detach the rest of your body and your mind from the beat. So what I mean by that is move another part of your body to engage with the metronome, with whatever beat's going on. Because really the goal here isn't, again, it's not perfect timing. It's to create an awareness of the beat and have get control over your timing. So moving another part of your body, nodding your head like this, tapping your left foot if you're right-handed, right? Can come in really handy and just make you aware of the beat. Otherwise, you might not realize that you're rushing a little or that you're dragging. But if you have that groove and you're just aware of that beat, that helps me a lot. And when you're in a live situation, it helps you to kind of engage with the band. If you're, sitting there feeling the groove and looking like you're having fun instead of just being like this. You're at that point, you're kind of overthinking it and you're over worried about it. But getting in a groove just it makes you look like you're enjoying the music. It's going to get the audience more involved, and it's going to be more entertaining for them, and it's going to help you stay aware of that beat. And if you're rushing or if you're dragging, so that's the first thing. The second thing is when you're working on this stuff, video yourself, because you might, if you're like me or anything like me, you might think your timing is okay. It's like, oh, it's pretty good. It's good enough. And then if you video yourself and watch it back with a metronome, you're going to be like, oh, dear God, what's going on? like I'm all over the place. And this is especially true if you're recording yourself like in on a computer or something, and actually making a recording of just audio, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, what's going on? I'm not nearly as good as I thought I was. But if you record yourself and listen to it back or watch it back, that will give you a realistic perspective on like, okay, how much do I really need to work on this? But the good news is like working on this timing stuff, working on it just a little bit, like 3 to 5 minutes a day over a period of a few weeks or a few months can really sharpen it up really quickly. So that's cool. It's not something you're going to have to woodshed for years or anything like that if you do it right. The next thing is when you very first start out with timing, it can be overwhelming because you might just be learning how to strum, right? And you're worried about all this technique stuff, and you're not sure if you're doing it right or you're just learning. So what I like to recommend doing is when you first start working on timing, just tap. Because it takes the technique question kind of out of the equation as far as strumming goes. And like that's one of the things with all the courses I do. I'm a big fan of dividing up challenges. So you're only working on one critical thing at a time, and then you can add something to it. So just working on your timing, it's much easier to hear if you're ahead, behind, if you're just tapping. You don't have to think about strumming technique at all. And you can even video yourself doing this and put it under the microscope. But again, the goal here isn't to get perfect timing, it's to get control of our timing. And again, I'm still moving my head, tapping my foot, and that helps me stay in time. And one of the biggest things that I learned, and this is one of the from the first kind of embarrassing moments that I realized my timing was pretty poor, needed a lot of work, was to subdivide the beat in your head. This is, I think it's 60 beats per minute, which is pretty slow. And there's a lot of space between the notes. So the next tip is to subdivide the beat in your head. So if that's quarter notes, I'm thinking 8 notes in my head. So what I'm really hearing is, right? Let's see. So I just downloaded this metronome. Let's see. Let's go to 120. So what I'm really hearing in my head is 120. And training yourself to do that even when you're at a slower tempo like this, there's 60. That's habit. That is a really valuable tool. It's kind of like the difference between kilometers and miles. Miles are a whole lot longer than kilometers, so it feels a lot longer between the mile markers, and it can be harder to tell when they're coming. But kilometers are kind of a little quicker, so it's a little bit easier to tell how long it's going to be from kilometer to kilometer, if that makes any sense. I had a big adjustment when I moved to Canada. I was like, I have no idea what 100 kilometers an hour means. It's just 60 miles an hour. That's all it is. But subdividing the beat is a big deal. That helps me a lot. That was like the first big lesson. It was in the middle of a big band, a swing band in college. And my mentor, he's like, this is the biggest musical mentor of my life, Dr. Randy Snyder at San Jac College. Stopped the whole band. He walked up to me and said, by and large, you're late. Work on it. And I was like, okay. I had no clue that I even had a problem with it. That was terrible. And so I learned to subdivide the beat and really get in the groove and feel things, and be aware, just creating awareness of the beat. Okay, next tip is start easy and get progressive. Don't feel like you have to take on and be able to play, 16-note strumming patterns to a metronome at 50 beats per minute. Start with like 70 beats per minute and just do quarter notes. And even simpler than that, just tap. And that's something that the Strumming Doctor does. It starts off very progressive. It starts off very slow and basic and just builds up one layer of paint at each time until by the end, you may not have the best timing in the world or be like amazing, but you're going to have respectable time, and your bandmates or your friends that you jam with won't hate playing with you, because your timing is going to be good. You're going to have control over you. Like, we can always stand to get better with our timing, but getting control over it, whether you're by yourself or in a situation where you're playing with other people, is the main thing. And I'm going to make a video on this, but I saw a comment the other day on one of the Facebook posts for timing or for strumming that that we had on Facebook. And the guy's like, "Oh, either you're born with it or you're not, or you can't do it. It's like learning to hit a fastball pitch." I was like, I got kind of mad at first, because it's like, that's crap. Because if you're born with it or not, like, if anything and I'm not good at it, I may as well just stop trying. Just stop trying if I'm not good at it automatically. And it's kind of insulting to all the students that I've taught whose timing was really terrible when they started later in life, and now their timing's getting better and even good. So you can do it. It's just a matter of if you're willing to put in a little bit of the work and a couple of these little tips, applying them on a regular basis to where, you're implementing them, dividing up the challenge, and really concentrating on your timing. And again, it doesn't take long, 3 to 5 minutes a day. It's more than enough. One thing that a lot of students do when they're working on their timing is they'll have a metronome in front of them, and the light flashes or the thing goes back and forth, and they rely on looking at the metronome. And for some reason, the visual thing, especially of a light blinking, is not the best way to keep up with the metronome. Number one, it's going to make you reliant on looking at something whenever you're playing, whenever you're recording something, or when you're playing in a live situation. That's the last thing you want to be doing. You want to be looking at the other people or looking at your instrument or something, But let me encourage you, don't, like, if you have a metronome that blinks, turn it over. Don't even look at it, because you want to rely on your ear and your groove and internalizing that beat. That's the whole goal of this. It's to just create awareness of the beat by ear and then be able to stay in that groove. I think that's it. Those are the main tips. There's a lot more. That's basically a short version of the second lesson of the Strumming Doctor, the first module of the Strumming Doctor that launched today. The first module is free for everyone. So if you haven't created your Guitar Fam account, go create one. It's complimentary. Just sign up and you'll get access to all of our free courses and the first module of each of our premium courses too. So the first module of the Strumming Doctor is free for everyone to go through, and it will help you get these basics down of strumming. And if you like the course, which you see in the first module, you can purchase the whole thing, and it'll take you all the way to a more advanced level of strumming, where you work on dynamic strumming tips, 16-note strumming patterns, all that type of stuff. And timing is a thread that's woven in and out of each module too. So your timing will be sharp, and your strumming will be very dynamic. It won't be boring, and you'll have start to be able to create the vocabulary for strumming patterns. That's really cool to be able to play the songs that you love, and you'll be able to start picking out strumming patterns for yourself, as far as just turning on a song and listening and seeing what's appropriate to play along with it. I guess that's it for today. I have some practice to do. I have a church gig tonight that I could stand to go over the songs again before I leave, and I've been working on a lot of improvising lately over chord changes with a looper. So there's going to be a lot of videos coming out for that in the next couple months, which I'm very excited about, because this is some of the kind of practice that I've been avoiding for a long time, and I've finally stopped avoiding it and started just woodshedding it, stuff that I'm not good at, and it's really paying off, and I'm excited to share it with you as far as how to play over chord changes and improvise. That's going to be kind of I think I'm going to call it, what did I say? The improv loop, because I'm going to be using a looper pedal for every lesson. And I'm going to be just working on improvising over changes. I think it's the thing a lot of people that mystifies a lot of people, and they think it's harder than it is. And we make it harder than it is as guitar players, because we try to fit these big scales and improvise with that. And then that's way too much information. Anyway, I'll get to a lot more of that later. I don't think there are any questions that came in, but if there are, now's the time to shoot them in either the Facebook or the YouTube stream. That's one thing that I'm really guilty of, is strumming too hard to where the guitar breaks up. I think the guitar sounds best for strumming like a moderate medium volume. I end up really digging in too hard sometimes, but it gets emotional. I'm not saying that's always bad, but it is what it is. Okay, I don't see any questions in here. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to be doing these live streams every other day for the next week and a half, just talking about whatever strumming lesson came out for the Strumming Doctor that day. And next Wednesday, I believe the 18th, the full course comes out, so it'll be available. And it's going to be fairly inexpensive too. Wanted to make this kind of a good intro course just to get to know the Guitar Fam and me. So it's going to be fairly inexpensive, especially for you members. If you haven't created your complimentary account for Guitar Fam, go there, do it. It's free, and you'll get access to all the free courses plus the first module of each of the premium courses too. And if you ever have any questions about anything on the site, just email us support@guitarfam.com. You can even send us a video for if you want. Other than that, I will see you guys later. Let's see.